We have massive news. On Friday, the Supreme Court of the United States ruling 6-3 that Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal. Not legally questionable, not subject to further review, illegal. And the ruling, written by Chief Justice John Roberts, a George W. Bush appointee, of course, joined by two other conservatives and all three of the left-leaning justices. And the three justices dissenting? Kavanaugh, Alito, and Thomas, who, if you're keeping score, are less concerned about the tariffs being illegal and more concerned about how messy it's going to be to give people their money back. And we'll get to that in a second. But for background, last year, you know that Trump imposed these tariffs under a 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. He declared a national emergency over the trade deficit and fentanyl, and he used that declaration to impose across-the-board tariffs on basically every country in the world. A 10% baseline, 25% on Canada and Mexico, up to 145% on China, all with fuzzy math somehow based on trade deficits. And Roberts and the majority said the IEEPA doesn't say anything about tariffs. It gives the Constitution giving Congress the power to levy taxes, not the president. And Congress never explicitly gave the president the power to do what Trump did. Quoting from Roberts, "Those words cannot bear such weight. Simple, clean, 6-3 victory." Except it does leave the window still wide open for Donald Trump, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But I want to start with the dissent, because it is really something. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, frat boy, voted to keep the tariffs, arguing that they were, quote, clearly lawful under the IEEPA. But his bigger concern, apparently, was the refunds. He wrote in his dissent that giving the money back to the people and businesses who pay these tariffs would be, quote, a mess. The refund process, a mess. A sitting Supreme Court justice appointed for life with a federal salary and a federal pension expressing sympathy for the difficulty of returning money that was illegally collected from American businesses and consumers. The full ruling is linked in the description below. It's a primary source. Read it yourself. Subscribe so that you get the follow-ups when the refund fight goes to the next round, and it's going to take forever. And of course, we know that the Kiel Institute analyzed over 25 million shipment records and found 96% of the tariff burden was paid by us, American consumers and importers. Not China, not Mexico, not Canada, you and me. Customs and Border Protection collecting more than $200 billion in new tariffs last year. Of course, that's far from the trillions Trump has claimed. And Kavanaugh's concern, his big concern here, is that it might be complicated to give the money back. And as I mentioned, here's the important nuance here, because I want to be very accurate. The court ruled extremely narrowly. They only struck down the IEEPA tariffs. That's the tool that Trump was using. The steel tariffs, the aluminum tariffs, the ones imposed under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, those are still in place. But the White House was ready for all of this. NBC News is reporting that the administration had already been exploring backup options for months. One option, using that Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. It's a 1962 act. It was framed around national security. And they can impose tariffs on specific goods. But the rates are capped, generally at 15%, and they generally expire after around 150 days. Another option, and again, I'm boring you with some of the details, you can look it up yourself, Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, it investigates unfair trade. It takes months to get rolling, and even longer in the tariff money to actually come back to the US. So neither of these are as fast or as broad or as flexible as this IEEPA move. Trump is losing his magic wand, but he still has a knife and a pointy stick that we've got to be worried about. The administration has spent the entire year telling you something that was flatly not true. They said that the other countries are paying these tariffs. China, Mexico, Canada. And yet the Federal Reserve Bank of New York published a paper in February analyzing these 2025 tariffs, finding that American importers and consumers absorbed nearly the entire cost. The Kiel Institute analyzing 25 million shipment records. Same finding. 96% of the burden fell on American consumers. Absolutely awful. Foreign exporters, they didn't lower their prices. They just sold less to us. And we paid more for what was sold to us. And $200 billion collected. 6-3 ruling says it was illegal. And the dissent was worried about the inconvenience of giving the money back. Look, the polling on tariffs was already brutal before today. Trump's economic approval underwater. 69% of Americans saying prices were worse. Businesses were screaming. And Republicans in Congress, they knew it. They saw it as a threat to their chances in November. The House actually holding a vote on the Canadian tariffs. They got 17 Republican defections, enough to pass a rebuke. Except this isn't ever going to go anywhere. It seems like it's going to get buried in the Senate. But regardless, today is a legal loss for Trump. And it's also a moment of accountability that the political branch refused to provide. The judicial branch refused to provide. So again, now the question is, who gets the money back? Is it only the businesses that filed the lawsuit? Every importer? Does it flow back to consumers? How does that work? The court didn't answer that. That part's been kicked down to the lower courts, and that could take years. And Kavanaugh called it a mess. And he is right about that. It's just that the mess was created by imposing illegal tariffs on everything that moves, not by the court that just now said, you can't do that, Trump. Doesn't it seem like our feeds are getting filled with more and more BS right-wing MAGA content? It's no secret that all these top tech bros are in love with the current regime, so it's no surprise that independent left-leaning media is being squashed by the algorithm. If you like our content and content like us, it doesn't take long to click that thumbs up, share, comment, or subscribe. So please help us keep the truth alive.